All right, welcome back, everybody. It's time for the post-game edition of Silver and Black today. What the game? What can I say? The Raiders win 20-10. The losing streak is over, and I guess the best way I could describe it was like watching two drunk guys fight. But nonetheless, the Raiders come out on top. Yes, we will talk positives. I heard a lot from you during the game about the negatives. The Raiders still don't look at this. They don't look at that. This is true, but we'll get into that. But we will also talk about the positives, including the defense, which came out aggressive, had a great game in this one against the lowly Titans. And again, 20-10, the final. You're with Scott Gulbransen here on Silver and Black today. And as always, joining me for the postgame show, he is recovered from his car accident. And we'll probably get a little bit of that from Murf, but I'm just glad to see he's okay. He's not in a neck brace, which is a good thing. Although maybe his attorney would like that, but I don't know. Nonetheless, Murf from Raiders Fan Radio's back with the voice of the fan as well. We do part of every postgame show. Do us a favor. If you don't already subscribe to the podcast, please do so. Wherever you get your audio, just look for Silver and Black today. And don't forget to rate and review. If you're watching us on video live right now, thanks for being with us. You can subscribe wherever you're watching us, whether it's YouTube, Rumble, whether it's Twitch, whether it's Facebook, whether it's on X. We appreciate you following us there. Do me a favor. Also follow Murf @_Murf, MURF. Also at Raiders Fan Radio. Also here, I am at LV Gully and the show is SNB Today. Okay, Murf, you were coming out with some zingers before the game started. You were managing your expectations, as I tweeted at you earlier, with this game and what we've seen from the Raiders. There was, I think, a lack of hope going into this week, but things turned out well because mostly the defense. I want to get your initial reaction here. What did you think of this game? Let's start with the positives first, Murf, and then we'll get into all the other jazz as we move on. So tell us, what do you take most from this game and this Raiders 20-10 victory over the Titans?
Well, I'm glad you said, so let's be positive, because I had that thought as well, Scott. I thought, okay, we're going to get on the airwaves here. It's my first time back in a minute. And thank you first and foremost to you, Scott, and Mo, and everybody else, all the amazing well wishes. Getting rear-ended by a semi-truck sometimes felt better than getting rear-ended by the Raiders every Sunday. But this week, Scott, the Raiders pulled it out, and one of my favorite characters of all time is Jules Winfield from the movie Pulp Fiction, and he stares across at his potential adversary that he's trying to forgive, and he says, "I'm trying real hard, Ringo. I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd." And that's what I want to do today is I'm trying real hard to be the shepherd of positivity in Raider Nation because, yeah, this was a rough watch. Watching this game between two 1-4 football teams. I am thankful that the Raiders pulled it out and had a 10-point victory at home. And to keep it positive and to compliment the defense, I think that I would lead my comments by saying this, Scott, is that you can only do with what is presented to you, and the Titans presented the Raiders with numerous mistakes today, and the Raiders capitalized on them. So whether those be miscues on throws or ball handling or whatever else that we saw today from the Tennessee Titans, bad timed penalties, all that stuff, the Raiders defense took advantage of it, and that's what you're supposed to do. Now, granted, we would love to see the Raiders extend out that margin of victory past 10 points, considering the amount of mistakes that happened throughout this game. But the bottom line is that a win is a win. It doesn't matter if you win by 10, by 1, or by 50. W's are W's, and this was a W at home in front of a mostly Raider crowd, which I was thankful for, although there was a lot of empty seats, but we'll take the W's and the victories where we can. And so good on the Raiders. I'll save anything else after that for later on in the show, Scott, but they did what they had to do and made it happen. And I'll never be sad at a Raiders victory. That will never happen. So good for them.
No, you have to take it that way. And that's where I had a couple of viewers who do have my personal number, and they were texting me about, wow, this, we're beating this bad team. I said, hey, just enjoy it. Like, I get it. I understand people are still frustrated because they want to see their team going at 100%. I get that. But tomorrow you get to roll into the office or roll into work or roll out of your bed if you work from home and throw that Raider shirt on and have a victory Monday. Okay. So we don't know how many there will be this year. So enjoy it while you can. But I want to focus on the positives, like you said, and we talked about at the beginning of the show, which was the Raiders defense, because I'll tell you what, they came out and I think, of course, led by Max Crosby, they came out and they wanted to set the pace. And I thought they did a good job of that. They knew they were facing a very young Titans offense led by Cam Ward, who did not have a great game. I still think he's going to be a good quarterback if Tennessee can develop him. I think they need a new coaching staff in Tennessee, by the way. But I do believe that was what they knew, that this offense on the Raiders has been struggling mightily, and they had to set the pace, and they did. And that started with Devin White. I mean, you look at what Devin White did in this game. I had a lot of Raider fans tell me early on when Devin White came in, oh, he's washed. He can't be the guy that was in Tampa Bay. He can't do this. He can't do that. But you look at Devin White and what he was able to do. 5 tackles. He had 1 sack, a fumble recovery, an interception, a forced fumble, and an interception. Okay. That's 2 Raider players in 1 year. Him and Max Crosby, have forced a fumble and gotten an interception in 1 game. Not something to sneeze at. So you had Devin White. Then, of course, Max Crosby, same thing. He had 2 sacks on the day as well, including 2 tackles for losses. He was blowing up the line. Remember, the Titans have the youngest offensive starting unit in the NFL. And you know this, Murph, because this is your hometown, and you know sort of where the Titans are. They are completely at the bottom in rebuild mode. Mm-hmm. And so they're going to all those. For all of you calling for young guys to play for the Raiders, and I don't disagree with that, this is what you get. You're going to have a really ugly time. They had a good game last game. Of course, they had that big comeback, and they were hoping, when we had an interview earlier this week with the guy who covers the Titans, he was telling us that, look, they need to stack these things. Well, they didn't do that against the Raiders. The Raiders came out and set the pace there as well. And so you look at that defense, what they were able to do. The Titans didn't really challenge the secondary of the Raiders very often. So you didn't really get any sense for where that's at. But it doesn't matter because the defense was able to step up. And I know Raider Nation particularly appreciates, with the history of this franchise, appreciates when the defense comes out like mad dogs and just runs roughshod over the offense. And that's what they did, Murph.
Yeah, they look good. It was good to see guys flying around the ball. It was good to see us get to the quarterback. I mean, you know, I think this is what makes it tough for this game. And I'm going to keep it positive, but I would like to acknowledge something that anybody that's listened to me on this show for the past few years now, is that context, I think, is very, very important. And I think that context, because without it, then it can lead to a misinterpreted message. And whether we're just looking at stats in a bubble or a vacuum or whatever, like anything. And so it's tough when you look at this team today. We had more sacks today than we have all year long. I mean, I don't know what the stats are, but I'm assuming that was the case. We had guys flying around all over the ball. But then the context of is that this is probably the 2nd worst team in football. So it's like you look at it and it's like, well, okay, that's what they should have done against this team. But what's this look like next week when we're playing Kansas City? And you mentioned the idea of what Kuharski had to say there around stacking up, you know, victories and stacking up good plays and those kinds of things. And I think that's what, if there's a shadow or anything, a dark cloud say that's over a win, which there shouldn't be, it's because us fans are looking at this and going, okay, well, this was great in today for those things. But then what does that look like? What is the story of the 2025 Raiders going to be? And that's what makes it challenging. But anyways, to acknowledge your point and your question, Scott, absolutely. You know, you can only play the schedule that's in front of you. You can only play the team that's in front of you. And the Raiders took advantage of that defensively, despite, frankly, a lot of breakdowns in the secondary. There was a lot of things that went, you know, that didn't happen for the Tennessee Titans that could have. But with a young quarterback and with a young offensive line, the pass rush was able to get home. And again, shout those guys out. They did. So whether, like my opening comments were, whatever the Titans' mistakes were, the defense took advantage of it. And it allowed guys like Devin White to shine, allowed Max Crosby to shine, it allowed, Fotu and Lau, and he's our leading sacker now, right? We've got like
Lau, yeah. Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So they allowed those guys to shine. And so that's to be celebrated. I mean, if we're Raider fans, we got to celebrate it when they do well.
Yeah, absolutely.
you know?
Absolutely. PSP Raiderette, by the way, on YouTube said, I would like everything to be good for once. QB offense, defense, coaching. Why can't we have nice things too? And I'll tell you what, she's got a good point there. And thanks for your comment, by the way. But I'll tell you that you look at this and two things, progress. Remember, I said last week, Murph, you weren't here, but I said last week throughout the shows all week that if you're a Raider fan, what you want to see is just progress, right? Because things didn't start the way you want them to. I understand that's disappointing, but you want to see progress. We saw progress today with the defense. I understand the competition. We'll see next week where they are, but you look at what the defense was able to do. Then here's one that nobody really talked about during the game, and this is usually means it's going well, is there were no major special teams breakdowns for one, right? That was a big one, just to see them execute on kicks. Now, the first field goal of the game that gave the Raiders a 3-0 lead, they had the delay a game call. Okay, so maybe that was the one error we saw on special teams today. Now, was there missed tackles and stuff? There might have been. I got to watch the film to see that. But I will tell you that out of the three phases, two of them did extremely well today. Okay, we'll get to the offense in a second. But to me, seeing that shows me that they worked on that. They got tighter on both sides there, on defense and on special teams. And that really came to play today. I mean, the fact that they were able to disrupt that Titans offense throughout the day. Now, Titans scored late. Defense was a little bit tired. That happens. And the game was pretty much over, I thought. But you look at that and you say, okay, that's progress, right, Murph? Am I overblowing that, or did you feel the same?
No, yes, 100%. And shout out Anthony Armstrong from Believe in Commanders. I was on their show, on the Believe in Commanders show, and it was right before that Washington game. And he had asked the question. He said, is there any concerns about the Raiders special teams going into this game? And I felt sort of blindsided by the question. And I was like, no, special teams is kind of something that we've always been pretty good at. And, Tom McMahon to this point, at least, had proven to be a pretty good special teams coach and whatever. And so it was like, no, it was kind of, I almost didn't want to say it was an afterthought, but Carlson's good. AJ Cole's good. Like we're kind of good. We got Labby returning kicks. Like everything looks to be pretty good. And then what happens? The opening play of the Commanders game, there they go. And they're freaking, and that game exposed a lot of what was going on in special teams. And ever since then, I've seen fans all over Twitter going like, Tom McMahon needs to be the first guy let go. And then if we're going to be making a change when it comes to special teams, like that's the guy, or not even when special teams, but like if there's going to be a coaching staff move that's not Pete Carroll's kid or whatever else, like then that's the guy that needs to be. Well, now this week they got better, everything tightened up, and like you said, and so it was progress, and for a team, and I think, and this is where my brain goes for the rest of the way out, Scott, is that for a team that's clearly struggling like the Raiders, okay. And yes, we want to see younger players, but like, where's the as long as there's not regression, I think that we all understand where this season is going to go. Listen, I would love for us to be a playoff team if the division was there for us for the taking. And frankly, it still could be. I mean, the Broncos won today, but the Chargers lost again. So I mean, the division is set up there, especially with us playing the Chiefs this week. I mean, God forbid we go into Arrowhead and beat the Kansas City Chiefs. We're having a completely different conversation next week, Scott, as this team, would move to then 3-4. But anyway, aside from a great recovery, which I don't know if is in the cards for this team. I hope it is, but until proven otherwise, this thing is going a particular direction that's going to lead to a youth movement with this football team. And do we want to see said youth movement get better week in and week out? And those are where the victories are going to lie, I think, for me. I mean, other than, we want to beat Kansas City. We want to upset their season. We want to, see Taylor Swift frowning in the owner's box. You know what I mean? That kind of stuff. Like, those are Super Bowls now to us. But outside of that, I think that there can be victories to be had by watching. Let's see Ashton Jeanty get that first big, 120-yard game and 3 touchdowns or whatever. See Trey Tucker continue to build on the success that he's having so far in this season. Let's get a healthy Brock Bowers back out there on the field and see him return to the guy that was competing for Offensive Rookie of the Year last year. Let's see, Geno Smith turn it down on the turnovers and have the confidence, and the staff to have the confidence in him to push the ball downfield once again. Like, those are the things that I'm looking for now out of this team. Should those things result in wins, that's awesome. But even if they don't, at least the Raiders are giving us something to root for by seeing them get better. Because if we continue to go down the path of regression, if we go on the road next week and turn the ball over 3 times and get blown out by Kansas City by 20 plus points, well, then here we are right back. This is going to go right on back again, and then we're back in that negative wagon again. So again, to your point, progression, let's get better. Max Crosby says it every week, 1% more. Right?
Yeah.
Just be better tomorrow than you were today. Be better today than you were yesterday.
Well, and he's and we know this too, right, Murph, from our careers in business and just in life too, which is he's a positive thinker. Through all the negativity he's been through, there's a lot to be said when somebody says, hey, let's get 1% better, right? And so they did that. Staying on the positives too, from an offensive standpoint, Ashton Jeanty, you mentioned him. Everybody agrees. Ashton Jeanty needs to touch the ball 20 times. Whether it's running the ball, catching the ball, it's got to be over 20 times. He had 23 carries for 75 yards. And the commentators on TV said something that really struck with me, and they're right, which is, sometimes you get lost because he might carry the ball 1 yard, 2 yards, 3 yards. But you know what? That's what you have to do. As long as you're getting positive yards. And yes, he got caught behind the line of scrimmage because the offensive line is still a massive work in progress. But nonetheless, 23 carries, 75 yards. Of course, he had the one rushing touchdown, He also had 4, he was targeted 4 times on the pass, 2 catches, 11 yards as well. So he did his part. Then the 2 guys who I was just cheering on the whole game, because it's remarkable to me how much progress Trey Tucker has made. He was targeted 5 times, caught the ball 5 times, 70 yards, an average of 14 yards per catch, including a 37-yard catch as well, catch and run, really. So you love what's going on with Trey Tucker. And they kept saying, Jonathan Vilma on the broadcast kept saying, Trey Tucker is their number 1 receiver on the Raiders. And you can't argue that, because whatever the chemistry is between him and Geno, and we'll get to Geno in segment number 2, but it's working. And Trey Tucker is benefiting from that and doing well. Then with Brock Bowers out of the game, my Notre Dame guy, Michael Mayer, back from the concussion, 5 catches, 50 yards, and a touchdown as well. So Michael Mayer is a number 1 tight end in the NFL. There's no doubt about it. He doesn't have to be that with the Raiders because, of course, they have Brock Bowers when he's there. Both these guys being healthy at the same time on the field give the Raiders an advantage no one else in the NFL has. Okay. And so good to see him come out. Jacoby Myers had 4 catches for 39 yards as well. So he got into the mix a little bit as well. So from an offensive standpoint, those were the positives. And so you got to build on those. And again, I said, we'll talk about Geno in a second, but to me, seeing what those guys were doing, seeing them come out and just doing what you expect them to do was phenomenal. All right. We're going to take our first break here on the post-game show, Silver and Black today with Scott and Murph. When we come back, we're going to get into the Geno Smith stuff and some of the negatives, some of the challenges we saw from this team in their 20 to 10 victory over the Tennessee Titans. This is Silver and Black today, an Odyssey Sports original podcast. Don't go anywhere. We're coming right back. All right, it's time to make my sleeper picks for tonight's Sunday night football game. And thanks to Sleeper Picks for being our title sponsor of our video here at Silver and Black today this season, plus a special offer I'll tell you about now. Okay, tonight's Lions versus Chiefs games. You ready for this? By the way, first of all, I want to tell you about a special offer before I get to my picks. $20 deposit right now for you. All you got to do is download the Sleeper app, and they are giving you a free $20 entry. You don't even have to make a deposit. That's right. Free $20 from our friends at Sleeper Picks, including you can also get that $100 100% deposit match using the code GENTY. That's GENTY. All right, now let's jump in to my sleeper picks for tonight's game. You got to be able to check it out, right? You guys got to get there with me, if you will. Now, tonight, the Chiefs and the Lions. Here's where I'm going. I'm starting with the Chiefs. Xavier Worthy, 58.5 receiving yards. Yes, sir. I'm going to take that one. Lions defense doesn't seem as good as it was last year. So I'm going with that one as well. Now, on the Lions side, Jahmyr Gibbs, anytime touchdown score. Yes, I'll take one there. Easy money in my view when you're playing fantasy football, daily fantasy football, that is as well. Then Patrick Mahomes, 1.5 touchdown passes. So will he get 2 in this game against Detroit? I say yes. Xavier Worthy, I got Kelsey for the other one here, but I'm going to go back out and show you that one. Travis Kelsey, now he's not what he used to be, but will he get a touchdown tonight? Yes, I believe so. So there you go. Sleeper picks, but $20 on that. You're going to get 68.80, as you can see from my screen there. So Xavier Worthy, over 58.5 yards. Jahmyr Gibbs with a touchdown. Patrick Mahomes with 2 touchdowns. And Travis Kelsey with 1 touchdown from my friends at Sleeper Picks. That's right. So what are you waiting for right now? As I said, you get that free $20 entry. No deposit needed, folks. All you got to do is go get the Sleeper app, go in there, and when you sign up, they're giving you a free $20 deposit just for signing up for the app. You can't beat that. Then once you're in there and you love it, because I know you will, it's the best daily fantasy football app you can play today. Guess what? Deposit $100 or more, and they're going to give you a $100 match on that if you use the code only from Silver and Black today. That's Genty, as in Ashton Genty. Use the code Genty for that $100 match. Rules and regulations apply. Check it out inside the Sleeper app. Not available in all states, but get on there, play with me today, and enjoy the winnings. All right, back for segment number 2 of the post-game show from Silver and Black today. Scott Gulbransen and Murf from Raiders Fan Radio. We're back with you. We're talking about the Raiders 20 to 10. God, I can't say that today. 20-10 victory over the Tennessee Titans, of course, at home at Allegiant Stadium. The Raiders' first home victory of the season. They're second on the year, go to 2-4 now in this season, this 2025 season. By the way, we are doing some video drop-ins. Murph and I are going to talk to some of you. We got 3 people waiting. So if you're waiting, stay right there. Don't go anywhere. I'm also posting the link in the chat wherever you're at. You can see that link. You can click on that link and join us. I'll get to as many of you as we can. We don't want Murph's wife to kill him because he's on too long. So we'll make sure that she could hurt you and then fix you though, right, Murph? Because she's a nurse. So we can do that. But listen, we're talking about the Raiders. We're talking about, in the first segment, we talked about all the positives because there were positives. I know it's been tough this year, but there were that defense, of course, special teams without any big errors like we've seen over the last several weeks. So that's a good thing. But offensively, the Raiders still struggled, Murph. And we'll start with the elephant in the room, and that, of course, is Geno Smith. And what struck me, I watched your show on Wednesday, and you talked about, hey, the Raiders, outside of Derek Carr, what have the Raiders had at quarterback on all the years since Rich Gannon? And you answered that question, really. And Jeff and Michelle looked around the room and are like, yeah, that's kind of it. And so when Geno Smith came in, I had high hopes for him. I wasn't expecting him to be an MVP candidate or any of that, but I thought he'd be a steadying force. This game, what struck me was he threw that interception in the second half. So he got his 10th interception of the season versus 7 touchdowns now. But the issue there is they dummied down this pass game this time against the Titans. You saw it. They simplified things for Geno Smith. They gave him a lot shorter passes. In fact, it wasn't until the third quarter where he had a pass that was over 10 yards in the air because he hadn't completed one of those at home the entire season. So you see Geno Smith working. Yes, he had a high completion percentage because of that, but he still turned the ball over. And this is continuing to be an issue, and it didn't go away because of the win. Now they're going to go to Kansas City, always a tough place to play for anybody. He's going to go in there. They're going to have to open it up. That plan they used today against the Titans is not going to work in Kansas City. So the Geno Smith issue is not gone away, and it has not really improved that much, although his performance, I guess you could say, was an improvement. But overall, it's still a big concern, and I know Raider fans are really, really pissed about it, and they will continue to be.
Yeah, context, man. You get the ball back inside the 5-yard line to score your first touchdown of the game, take a 10-0 lead, and then you just control the clock. And then that's why this game was kind of I don't want to say uneventful, but it wasn't a great watch, and so because the Raiders were just grinding it out at that point, and again, keeping it positive, if you enjoy your betting partners, well, that under 41.5 today was the easiest bet you'll make all year long. And if you didn't bet your mortgage on that, then shame on you, because as soon as we saw that thing go 10-0, it was like, all right, here we go. This is just going to be a slow slog through the rest of the game. And sure enough, it was, with a myriad of penalties and whatnot. But anyways, but the idea, Scott, is that, yeah, I mean, do you trust Geno Smith to go into Arrowhead Stadium and to beat the Chiefs and to outduel Patrick Mahomes? I mean, we're dumbing down an offense for a almost 5-year-old, or is he 35 now? Whatever, 35-year-old quarterback like that. Like, the Titans are trying to dumb down the offense for Cam Ward because it's his first year in the league. Like, that's a whole nother story versus a guy that's been doing this for 13 years.
Yeah,
Geno Smith has been in the league since 2013. And we're dumbing down the offense for him and limiting his throws downfield. And I mean, if that's not a vote of, no confidence, I don't know what is, Scott. And that should make you nervous as hell, Raider Nation, when it comes to having Geno, because this is the one of the challenges that I've had with this staff throughout the course of this season so far, is that the messaging of the offseason is running counter to what the performance is in season. And the messaging in the offseason was, this is a guy that's going to take care of the football. This is a guy, frankly, on your show even. What was it represented in the numbers? Dome Geno.
Yes.
Indoor Geno is
absolutely
a slam dunk. Look at his, you know what I mean? Like, those are the narratives that were out there. And you guys rightfully shared that message with us as fans, because that was the truth. So if the truth is the reality of Geno was that, and now we haven't seen it, it's virtually inexplicable to why we haven't seen that in Las Vegas. You get no confidence in it. So even though there's a win today, and what was that on the heels of, though? It was on the heels of the Titans pretty much handing the Raiders an opportunity to win the game. And even on the Geno Smith thing as well, he gets bailed out on a handful of throws, and on the biggest play, I don't know on the stats in front of me, but I'm guessing the biggest play of the game was a 38-yard pass to Trey Tucker, which is a yards after catch play where he makes a guy miss and then takes off down the sidelines for 38 yards. And that was probably Geno's biggest play and the offense's biggest play of the game. Well, that's not on Geno. That's more on freaking Trey Tucker making a hell of a play. So we should be, I'll save I'll tirade. I'm going to stay off my soapbox, Scott, because I'm going to keep it positive today. But I would say this, that the Raiders have a dire future at quarterback. Should we not do something aggressive in the offseason? And I'm not talking about signing anybody. It is long past time for us to draft a first-round quarterback. And if we have to make a move to get one, or if we're in the unfortunate position of a high-level draft pick because we're one of the worst 2 or 3 teams in football, then we've got to make a move. It's past time. We can't be adjusting the offense for a 35-year-old dude, man.
No, it's gotta happen. And even when he threw the pick, Murph, it's inexplicable, because at that point you're up in the game by 17 points. And I don't know why they're passing the ball. Now, listen, I understand a little bit dumbing down the offense, especially at the beginning of the game, because it's about confidence. I don't care how old you are, how long you've been in the league. When your confidence is shaken, like his has been, because he's been so bad, you try to help the player regain it. So the first drive was an example. Of course, they got to the red zone and couldn't do anything again. That's another big problem. But I understood it at the beginning of the game. But as the game went on, they stuck to that, and they did not venture from that. They did not let him open it up a little bit, even though you had Trey Tucker. You had Jack Besh down the field a couple times open. And this is something that they don't talk about with Geno Smith, is that he's missing open receivers like in his reads. And so it was happening again today. It's just they designed the play so they had outlet passes to dump the ball down. So they did that. But to me, that's part of the problem here is you can't, as you said so well, you can't dumb down the game for a guy who's been in the league for that long. It should not happen. And I can see it for a series or two, but they did not open up this game. really, if the Raiders were clicking on offense, this game, they probably should have won by 20 points. I was kind of laughing at people when they said that the Raiders would win by double digits. I really didn't have any expectation that the Raiders could do anything on offense, as bad as the Titans could be, and I was wrong about that. But you didn't really show me anything. Now they're getting ready to play the Chiefs. I get that, and so maybe they weren't going to open up the playbook. Although at 1-4, when you're going in this game, you should do everything you can to win it. Now, the defense helped them do that. And of course, getting the ball, the turnover deep in the Tennessee Titans zone, all that stuff made a lot of sense. But this issue is not going away. The offensive line continues to struggle. We saw it many times with Geno Smith getting sacked, being under pressure, all that kind of stuff. Now, he's not throwing picks when he's under pressure. That's the scary part. He's throwing picks because he's throwing bad balls. He's trying to force passes in. And that's what happens when somebody doesn't have the confidence. And this is why we talked about at certain times. Now, he did it so late in the game, and it was pretty much a fatal complete. It was done. The Raiders were going to win this game. So there was no reason to pull him at that point, although many of you wanted to. But if they face the Chiefs and there's some early issues, you got to do something to spark that team. I didn't see any spark out of Geno and this offense other than what Trey Tucker created. And of course, Michael Mayer on some open routes was able to do. So we'll see. But by the way, there are 3 people in the queue to get on with us. So I'm going to get you on. The link is there. It's pinned in the chat, especially if you're with us on YouTube, on the Silver and Black Today channel. You'll see it there. If you want to come in, we'll get to as many people as you want. But we've had those 3 people waiting patiently. So I want to get to them, Murph. Let's bring in some of the folks and see what they have to say. I'm going to start with Raider Rube, because Raider Rube came in even before you got on, Murph. So he's been waiting. He's been chomping at the bit. So we're going to go out to Raider Rube now and welcome into the show. What's up, my man?
Hey, man. How's it going? Good. Hey, Murph, it's good to see you, and I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you, Rube. Appreciate that, brother.
Positives and negatives. So like I talked last week, I looked at the individuals. I'm caring less and less about the season and more about who do we have to build off of going forward. I'm calling this a rebuilding year. So I liked what I saw to I could never say his name right, Lalalu. I liked what I saw to Tyree Wilson. And obviously there's Max. But after that, there's Devin White. I've been kind of out on Devin White. I know he was good today, but he needs to do it more than just once. He needs to play better than that on a consistent basis, instead of just one great game, one terrible game, one great game, one terrible game. So Devin White still, needs to be more consistent, like Jamal Adams has been consistent. He's been solid. Offensively, Trey Tucker was great. Michael Mayer was great. I'm glad to see those 2 guys. Those 2 guys have been really looking forward to this season to see if they were going to be good. Geno he wasn't bad Geno. He wasn't great Geno, but he wasn't bad Geno. So we'll take that, I guess, for now. I mean, it's a rebuild process. It's a process. I look at it that way, and I'm not throwing anyone out. I'm not throwing Pete Carroll out. I'm not throwing John Spytek out. I'm just saying, let's see what pieces we have so we can address them off season next year. I think obviously they addressed the offense this year. Next year it's going to be about the defense. It's got to be. There's got to be that secondary needs help in whatever way that looks, draft or free agency. We need a quarterback of the future. I just hope. The problem with the Geno thing, the biggest problem I have with the Geno thing is my hope was that Geno was going to be our quarterback for the next couple of years, the bridge quarterback, our Alex Smith quarterback. That's what I wanted, because whatever quarterback we draft this coming season, which it looks like we're going to do sooner than later, I wanted him to be sitting a year. That's what Tom Brady wants to do, like it or not. That's what Tom Brady said multiple times. Quarterback you should draft should sit at least a year. That's the Green Bay Packer method. It's the Kansas City Chief method. They seem to do okay with quarterbacks. I'm for that. I don't want to be like the Jets and the Browns. And like as you said earlier this week, Scott, let's just draft a quarterback. And if he sucks in the first 4 games, scrap him, draft another one. And if he sucks in the first 4 games, scrap him and draft another one. I don't want to do that. That's how the Jets do it. That's how the Browns do it. That's not going to work if we just draft a quarterback. And if he plays like Cam Ward has played so far this year, Raider Nation is going to all freak out and say, oh, he's not the guy. We got to get another one. So I don't want to do that. I want to draft a kid. Hopefully he's around 20, 21 years old, so he's young enough. Sit him a year or 2 and play. But Geno's not playing well enough for me to say that's going to happen. We're looking more like what the Giants are doing right now, and that is we're going to have to draft a kid, hope that Russell Wilson next year, I guess, is going to have to play 4 games, and then maybe the kid takes over. Don't love that idea, but that's kind of where it's going right now if Geno doesn't get more consistent.
Well, and I think, Rube, man, and listen, I appreciate you jumping in with us, and hopefully we'll see you next week.
Yeah, see you later.
All right, so there's Raider Rube. And Murphy brings up a good point, though, and this is why I know a lot of people weren't excited about it. And I'm not saying that he was some savior, but that's why actually the trade for Kenny Pickett was a sneaky good one, because if Geno continues to be the Geno we've seen this year, they can move on from him pretty quickly. Yes, they gave him the extension and $75 million and all that stuff. But if they need to, they can. And then you have Kenny Pickett, who started in this league. Yes, he's a 500 quarterback. But to Rube's point, Murph, if you draft a young guy and he's not ready to go, at least you have a serviceable starter. I say serviceable. I'm not saying playoff bound. I'm not saying Super Bowl bound. I'm not saying any of that. I'm just saying you have a guy who's played in the league and shows he can do. He doesn't turn the ball over a lot. And to which some Raider fans have said, well, yeah, that's because he hasn't played as a Raider yet. When he plays as a Raider, he'll turn the ball over just like Geno Smith. But I don't think so. But nonetheless, that's what you have to do. I think you're right. And you guys talked a lot about it on your show. You've got to go get that young quarterback. And I know, yes, I agree with everybody out there who says, no, you got to build the offensive line, defensive line. Absolutely. You got to do all of it. But in the NFL, if you don't have a plan, you're in big trouble. And that's what the Raiders have been dealing with ever since they decided to move on from Derek Carr.
100%. I think that is the biggest thing that's been plaguing this football team ever since, and frankly, longer than even just moving on from Derek Carr. From before we moved on from Derek Carr. Derek Carr in 2016 was a changed man. And listen, and I was the biggest Derek Carr fan and supporter of that man, and he's an admirable human being, and the message that he had for Geno this week and his social message posting and whatnot. I mean, that guy's a Raider through and through. And if you can't respect what he has to say and his frame of mind, then I got nothing for you, because I got nothing but respect for that. That said, his play started declining, and when it came to from the red zone and all the different, ball handling, all the different things, the writing was starting to become on the wall. And so for the Raiders to not have made a move to put in a younger guy to back him up and to learn and do the whole Tom Brady thing of like what you were talking about earlier of developing within the league and moving into a position to take over. So the Raiders made a huge mistake there. Then they made a huge mistake by not drafting someone after the fact. So this is a problem that's been around for arguably close to 10 years that the Raiders have been dealing with this. And so it's time. And so, and I've had a lot of folks, and I've traded a lot of paint with people on the Twitter and all that good stuff. And I love it. I love the interactions, and I love all the different opinions. And people would say frequently, like, well, what makes you, trust the Raiders and their ability to draft? Because we screw it up all the time. You can't let history dictate your present or your future, man. You've got to be able to you have to do it. Look around the league today and look at the first round quarterbacks and the success that they had. Look at Drake May. We beat the Patriots in week 1. They are now 4-2 and in contention for their division with the Buffalo Bills. It turns it around.
In fact, if the Bills lose tomorrow night, the Patriots would be alone in first place in the AFC East. It's crazy.
Bingo. And who's running away with the AFC South? Trevor Lawrence, and they're another first round quarterback and their offensive minded head coach that everybody, like you guys have mentioned, everybody gave him shit. Everybody gave him a hard time because of the way that he said Duval. And next thing you know, they're one of the better teams in the league in the AFC. So it's not the only path to success, because I understand that Mike Tomlin exists and John Harbaugh and freaking Dan Campbell, and I get it that there are other paths to success in the league, but it's becoming a very proven formula to draft a first round quarterback, pair him up with an offensive minded head coach, and let him go. And you'll see some amazing things in the league. And the Raiders, I think it's way past due for us to do that. It's not going to be with Geno Smith. And to address something like what Rube was talking about, how this year we addressed the offense, and I pushed back on that a little bit. Did we? I know we drafted a bunch of dudes.
We tried should have been the statement, maybe.
Yeah. We drafted a bunch of dudes in the freaking, you know what I mean? The play offense, but 3 of them were inactive today. And Jack Besh, he seems like a great kid, and I see his number flash across the screen all the time. Is Geno just not finding him or what? But what does he have? 3 catches on the year, and he's a 2nd-round pick? Like, I mean,
Well,
so
yeah.
I don't
And
think
that's the thing. You can have those weapons, but if Geno's a mess, it doesn't matter. You have to have the dealer. You have to have the guy who's going to deal the ball and find those. And the reality is there's guys open he doesn't find. So it's going to be a constant work in progress until they address it. All right, we're going to go now. Another drop in. Here comes Kevin. My man, Kevin. What's up, brother?
Hey.
What's going on, guys? Murph, good to see you again. How are you?
Good, brother. Good to see you, Kevin. As always, my friend.
So, it's funny. Just a little disclosure on, my game day routine. We probably all have similar ones, and as of lately, we're down bad. And some of us are like, no, I'm not going to watch them. I'm going to kind of half-ass it. And I'm kind of at that point right now to where when this game was coming on, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to I'll pay attention to it, but I'm not going to pay full attention to it. I'm going to work on some Star Trek podcast notes while I'm watching it. And I had it ready too, Murph. And if you've been watching Murph's show for a long time, listening to it, you know that there's the cult of the Raider Truth Chicken. I've joined it. Shout out to him. And if you don't know what that is, that means you hold the Raider Truth Chicken. I gave Murph one of these. And whoever holds this gets to speak and tell about their woes of Raider Nation and tell basically where the Raiders hurt you. And I was ready for it. And I'm kind of going back and forth. And I'm like, they're actually winning, but they're not winning well. It's ugly. Still working on those notes, kind of going, And so, and the other thing too, is like, I'm wearing my Raiders hat that's black on black. And it's one of those things where I wear this hat to let you know that I love my Raiders, but I'm still mad at them. You have to get close. You have to get close to me to see the emblem, So I go through all these little routines. I'm sure, Murph, you're probably like, yeah, do I want to watch this game? I have to. I got to be on the show with Scott. But if I wasn't, would I be doing something with Val? And I'm thinking the same thing. That's where I was at going into this game. And, there's a couple of standouts and everything, but you guys are hitting on it too. It's like, we need to see consistency here, And, it doesn't hurt. It doesn't help when we see another interception, but we saw the defense step up a little bit, but yeah, there's just questions in general that just don't sit well with me going like, okay, is this a trend? I don't know.
That's interesting. Yeah. And your hat, the black, still supporting him, but showing you're mad. It's kind of like when my wife gets mad at me and she gives me like the half kiss or she turns her head.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I get
well,
that.
It's like my wife will say, she knows that when it's Raiders game day, she goes, "It's your day. You can do this." But now through the season, I'm kind of like, "What, you want to do something, hon? You want to make out or something?" It's just like that's what I'm looking at, Murph. I know you probably were wondering the same thing,
Kevin. If the Raiders can't score, you should be able to, right? I mean,
right?
I'm all for that. I got nothing wrong with that, man. I know you can score in the red zone. I know you can. So I got all the faith in the world, and you won't throw an interception, right?
I'm good there.
There you go. See, that's awesome, man. Oh, I love it. Kevin, man, thanks for joining us, buddy. We'll see you next time.
Guys.
All right, there you go. There's Kevin. Oh, that was funny, man. The chicken. You got your chicken up there too.
Heck yeah.
There he is. If you're not watching and you're listening, go watch the video so you can see the chicken. But he brings up a good point. And that's what I saw consistently this week amongst fans, Murph, was this, because you guys are ride or die. It doesn't matter what the Raiders do, how much they hurt you. You still love them. You still root. When the game day comes, let's go. Let's win this game. But it's hard when you've seen what you've seen over the last 3 weeks prior to this, and you just don't see any hope in things. You got to find that glimmer of hope. Now, many will say, as you've told me many times, Murph, that, okay, they give me a glimmer of hope and then they just crush it again. And let's hope they don't do that in Kansas City.
Yeah, that's the thing, is they got to build. It's one thing to do it once, but then we talked about that a little bit ago, right? With the Koharski thing with the Titans. It's like, okay, do it once, now build on that. And so, and I think that you could even get, do the micro analysis of it, and let's just build on plays. Like, as Raider fans, we have, not making light of the term, but like the PTSD around, like, we do one thing well, and then it's like, well, then we go backwards on the next thing. So like today, like the turnover in the red zone, we get the ball inside the 5-yard line, and it's like, all right, here we go. And then that would be like, we would throw a pick six after that. You know what I mean? Like those are the kind of things that like typically we would see from the Raiders. So that's the micro analysis of it. So let's broaden it out a little bit and let's look game to game, week to week. This week we're 1-0. Let's be 1-0 again next week. If we want to have a real conversation about the competitiveness of the 2025 Raiders, we got to do it again. We got to go beat Kansas City on the road. And realistically, I know that the Chiefs are down, but if we can go on the road and beat the Chiefs, who a team we hadn't beat since Christmas, 2 years ago now?
Yep, 2 years.
If we can do that going into the bye week, I think that could start to build some actual confidence in what this team might be able to do in 2025. And I think that it wouldn't give us a false sense of positivity and this whole context thing that I'm talking about. Like that would actually start to build. And how do you do that? Is by taking advantage of the things that your team does well. And I would, when we look at like Ashton Genty today, he got the ball in space a lot. And one of the things that I've been bitching about this offense so far this season is that they haven't gotten him in space. He is a problem one-on-one with a defensive back. I'm not a fan of plays that develop behind the line of scrimmage, but damn it, throw him a screen, get him on a swing pass, get him on a toss play, something, get him outside. And we saw that today. And we saw him singled up on DBs. And what was he doing? He was trucking fools, spiking their faces into the turf and going off and converting on third downs and converting first. And what, I mean, those are the kinds of things that you want to see the Raiders. Now let's build on that. Okay. That's something that we do well. So let's build on that, Chip Kelly. You know that Trey Tucker can be a problem in open space. Okay, well, let's build on that now. Let's do that. And so even though we may not love the idea that our quarterback has to have the offense, quote, dumbed down for him, and we got to pull in and be more of a short dink and dunk type team, well, that's fine, because if we're going to get in, the alternative to that is turnover Geno, which none of us love and clearly is a detriment to the team. Well, then but if that's what you are, then be that, but build on it and let's get, you know what I mean? And see that improvement. And listen, it's very feasible that should we beat Kansas City next week, we could be in contention for the division. And shout out Raider Boog called me out. I mistakenly said earlier that the Chargers lost. You're right, because of freaking I thought Tua was going to be Alabama Tua there for a minute, but I forgot that the freaking Chargers came back and won that game. But anyways, but even that, despite that, this division would still be, we would at least be in the conversation. And I think that as Raider fans, that's all we can ask for at this point.
Right.
Conversation.
And you bring up a good point too, because I thought that progress, that was a very big positive from this game, was to see them getting Genty in space, because I've been screaming about it as well. And so that was positive. That was good. You need to do more of it, right? So it's never enough. Keep doing it. Same thing with Trey Tucker, those routes. And of course, you saw Michael Mayer, when he gets in space, it's the same thing too, because he's a big dude. He can catch the ball and he can truck people. So you got to do that. And the Kansas City's defense is much more physical and a better defense than obviously Tennessee. And also, you got to your point about building, you got to build on what you did on defense, because they created what? Turnovers, right? Imagine that. Creating turnovers benefits a team. Imagine. So now you got to be able to capitalize and score, of course, and you got to score 7, not 3. So the Raider, but again, if they can take the step forward on that, they can do it. All right, we got another drop in. It's our man down in Austin, our resident comedian in Raider Nation. That is Mr. AJ DeMello. AJ, what's up, brother?
Hey, what's up, guys? You're talking about turnovers. It's nice to see those, because all our guys do for turnovers is just flipping the wings in the kitchen lately. But now we get stuff on the field. That's nice. I'm not happy with the win, though. I think most of the nation, like, being happy with this win is kind of like being happy you unclogged your toilet. It's like you're supposed to, you're supposed to do like these kind of things, you know, like that Geno Smith interception, and you're saying like they're dumbing down the offense. I mean, we all know that we should have drafted a quarterback in like 2020, 2021, 2019. After the third game against Minnesota, I'll always say it. I was like, Derek Carr's done. But I don't know. I think this is going to be another lost year. The only thing we can hope is that Geno does well enough that we can go into the next season and have him there when we draft a quarterback, and then he's better second year in the offense. But I mean, we should have just already had the guy, because then you're like, we got the guy, like there's hope, but there isn't. That's the problem being a Raiders fan is we look for the hope, but there's no hope. We just get shiny little things like here's Ashton Genty, here's Charles Woodson back again, here's Devontae Adams, here's Josh McDaniels. Like maybe he could be a good, like we get all these things except for like Jim Harbaugh. like we get all the other things.
But AJ, let me ask you this though, man. I'm going to challenge you a little bit. Are you ready?
Okay.
So you say you're not happy with this win. What if they would have lost to the Titans?
I almost think it would have been better at this. No, I mean,
really?
Don't get me wrong. Like I want my team to win, but with what I would rather just us not have a good record and get that quarterback rather than trade Crosby, because we're going to have to trade Max Crosby if we have a wishy-washy 7 or 8 win season. Everyone's like, oh, we're turning the corner. And they're like, oh, but we pick like 13th. And then we're like, oh, we're screwed again. So if you're screwed again, then you can't get the quarterback again unless you're doing what everyone was afraid to do before and trade all these picks. So if we have to trade all these picks again, then we're going to really have to take that chance, as opposed to if it doesn't work out, just ride out the suck. We deserve the good draft pick. If they figure it out, I'm glad. But you know what? Like, let's not dress up a turd. Like, let's flush it. Let's get it right if that's what it means. But if we win against Kansas City, then that would be the biggest win probably in years, because they would be 3-4 and it would be like, well, are they actually getting it together? Like they're almost 500. So if they win against Kansas City, then I would think it would be the most I could possibly feel excitement in years for, where we could go. But I don't know if that can happen. We don't really have a receiver. So we got to give the offensive linemen some stickum, because I don't know, like what Chip Kelly's doing, the statue of hubris in the end zone, like throwing the ball to the offensive.
Alex Kappa.
Cool.
Yeah.
It's cool that he does that, but we can't block. So I think Chip Kelly has to create these things, because we can't. It's like we want to stick with the run game, but it's so bad that Chip Kelly has to he's almost in a lose-lose, because people are like, well, why don't you just do this? And it's like, well, he does try to do this and it doesn't always work. So it's like he's kind of in a lose-lose. And I think Chip Kelly is going to get better as our OC. I'm more worried about Geno Smith, to be honest.
Yeah, no, I'm there with you. AJ, man, thanks for dropping in. We'll see you next time, right?
Guys, thanks.
All right, there you go, AJ DeMel. And listen, Murph, I understand what he's saying, because this goes back to what you've been harping on lately on your show and on this show, which is the idea that because you're not going about rebuilding this team in the right way, meaning you got to tear it down to studs. You can't keep putting duct tape and some of the spackle and all this other stuff on that big hole in the wall, because it just looks like crap and it doesn't get you anywhere. Oh yeah, the wall might sit up and you can put a picture on it, but then 3 weeks later, the picture falls down because the spackle's not very good and the studs are bad and all this kind of stuff. You just kind of have to do it. And I think that's what AJ's saying. I understand sort of not rooting against your team, but rooting for them to be like, hey, if you're going to suck, just suck. Let's play young guys and develop. But don't go into purgatory again. Don't get to 5-6 wins where we're in the middle of the first round and we can't get the guy we want.
Yeah, a lot of what AJ had to say there, man. He took me to church there, man. I'm going, yes, brother, preach on that.
Amen.
100%, man. And I'll never root for the Raiders to lose, and I'll never be upset to see the Raiders win. But he's very right in that. And I think that's where, when he talked about not drafting a quarterback going all the way back to 19, that's exactly the whole point. And it's like, we don't end up here if we'd addressed it then. And, when we look at even the Tom Telesco firing as recently as last year, Tom Telesco got fired because he didn't get us a quarterback and he didn't sign Josh Jacobs. The end. That's why he's not on this football team anymore. And it was a massive, massive oversight to in a draft where you had 6 viable starting quarterbacks in the league to not make a phone call. Like, that's the thing about this Raiders team. It's like, we have Antonio Pierce out here telling us we're not going to have a Band-Aid at quarterback, and then we had 2. It's mind-boggling that, and so at some point you have to do it, and it's that you see it with the Titans today. There is going to be growing pains, but what AJ had to say there, and listen, I know it's just win, baby, and it's only winning is going to cure these ails that we've been dealing with as Raider fans. That said, if you have a talented young quarterback that is showing progress and growth and ability, then that is something for you as a fan to latch onto. And you don't have to look that far in the past to see it. Because in 2014, we drafted Derek Carr in the high part of the very top of the second round, and we won 3 games. Then the next year, we won 7 games. Then bam, 2016 happens and we're in the playoffs. And if it weren't for Derek breaking his leg, we'd have probably beat the Houston Texans in the first round. You see how quick that turns around? It doesn't take that long, but you've got to bite the bullet, and to have that 0-10 start with your rookie quarterback, Derek Carr. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you've got to go through those growing pains, and until the Raiders are willing to have the balls, and I'm calling every one of them out, Tom Brady, Mark Davis, John Spytek, if my words ever found any of their ears, have the balls to get a high-profile, high-prospect, top-level talent at a college football and put them on your football team, and be willing to deal with the growing pains, because it will pay off. You don't have to look more than 10 years into our past to see it. I mean, Scott, it blows my mind that we haven't done this yet.
Absolutely. And I'll tell you what, I mean, you said it perfectly right there, which is, and I think that this goes for all of us. I say all of us as in society right now. We want everything now. So you say, well, what about the Commanders? Last year they get Jaden Daniels and it's 1 year. So if you get a quarterback and in 1 year, now look what happened with Drake May last year with the wrong coach, the wrong situation in New England. Now you get him a real coach in the right situation, and look what he's done. I'm not crowning him the best quarterback in the league or any of that stuff yet, okay? But I tell you, you see the growth. You have the right people in the right organization with the right plan, and you're right, Murph, things can turn around relatively quickly, okay? Not a year, but 2 years, 3 years, absolutely. And the Derek Carr example is actually a good one. Okay, we're going to get 2 more drop-ins here. We got our buddy, we got a salute. It's Captain Rafuccio. What's up, my man?
Hey.
What you got for us tonight? Uh-oh, we can't hear you, my man. Your audio's not working. Okay, so I'm gonna take you out, and then I'll bring you back in a minute. All right, we're going to somebody who last time we saw him last week, Murph, he was on the IL with you, except he called us. He dropped in from a hospital bed. First of all, Pastor Mike behind bars, how are you doing? How's your health?
I'm doing great, man. I'm doing great. Yeah, I got out of the hospital on Tuesday, went back to work on Thursday. Yeah, I'm good.
By the way, did you get the special nurse I sent you, or no?
No, I don't think I did.
I know you're a man of God. I get it. I'm just kidding, of course. Yeah. But tell me what you thought about the game today.
Well, they should have torched them. I mean, I felt like the Raiders should have just blew them out, and they didn't. And I mean, they finally scored in the red zone, but the defense gave us the ball on the 2-yard line. It's kind of hard not to, you didn't score a touchdown there, then we really got problems. But I was glad for the
Mike. I thought they might not.
Yeah, I know. So did I.
I was like, oh my gosh, if they don't score from the 2-yard line after getting this turnover, Raider Nation is going to take to the streets.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, so okay, it's a win, but I mean, there's still issues with the offensive line. It's just, they're not playing very well. Defense came to play, which I was glad, to see. Hopefully they come to play next week against the Chiefs. That's what I'm worried about. Oh, shoot, we're going to just get blown out in Kansas City, but I always try to keep it positive, I mean, like, okay, there's always a chance, right? There's always a chance.
Of course. Yeah, that's the thing. And Murph, you're always that. See, that's what I love about Pastor Mike too, and a lot of our listeners. Now, I get it. Some people are upset and they're still hurt by how the Raiders have started the season, but you and Pastor Mike have the same kind of mentality.
Yeah, absolutely. And shout out Pastor Mike. Good to see you, brother. Good to talk to you in person.
Yeah, good to see you.
And last week when I saw Pastor Mike on the show, I'm like, this guy's coming to the show from the hospital, and here I am, freaking a little banged up from a car accident. I'm like, what am I doing, man? So, anyways, much respect to you, and glad to see you here, brother, and in good health. But yeah, man, it's like those are the things that it's like you want to see more, and you want to see capitalize. And again, the word I use all the time is the context. This was like arguably the worst team in football that's not named the New York Jets. So why are we not taking advantage of these things and blowing this team out of Allegiant Stadium, in front of a majority at home crowd there with mostly Raider fans in attendance? And so I'm with you, Pastor Mike. It's like, that's the things that we would expect. And that's the things that, and Pastor Mike, I can tell you're of a very particular age, just like this Scott and I are. And this is what we are used to as Raider fans from back then, that those Raider teams, those John Madden teams, those Tom Flores teams, those even Art Shell 1.0 teams, when we would match up against a team like this, we win them by 30. Like they were dominant performances. And I know that some of the performances in the postseason were close, and the Raiders have had their share of very, very tight games throughout history. But when presented with an inferior opponent, we would run that thing up. Those were big wins for us when we're talking about regular season victories with the amount of talent. And so those are the expectations. And like the great Wayne Mabry, the Violator, told me one time, is that you don't lower the standard you don't lower the shield standard like that. Yeah. That was what was established, and that is it. And even though we haven't had a great run of success, the standard hasn't changed. And so I think, Pastor Mike, that's what you're looking for still to this day. Yes.
Well, absolutely. I mean, I became a fan from the Sea of Hands game, so that was a long time ago. I've witnessed all 3 Super Bowl victories. I was at the AFC Championship game against the Seahawks in LA. I lived in LA when they moved to LA, moved there about the same time. And so, yeah, and it was like, oh yeah, I mean, it was like 2 minutes left, we're down by 10, no problem. Yeah, we'll win this game, with Stabler at the helm, I mean, but that's been was a long time ago. So, I'm just waiting for Geno to everything to click, and then they go on this run, but it just doesn't seem to be happening.
No, and you and I had a lot more hair back then, Pastor Mike.
Oh yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And especially Murph. Yeah. So, but yeah, now before I let you go, what are you feeling about the Kansas City game next week?
Well, I'm always, because I bleed silver and black, so I always think we have a shot. Absolutely. But I mean, if they played the way they played today, I mean, offensively, yeah, we're not gonna win that game. But I think we can go in and let's see what Kansas City looks like tonight. But yeah, I'm afraid if they lose tonight, then we're walking into a buzzsaw for sure next week. Oof, but it could happen. Yeah. So I mean, I'm semi-confident, but I'm still just not confident with the way the offenses have been playing. It's just not playing well.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, my friend. Listen, as always, thanks for calling in. Thanks for dropping in on the video. And most of all, thanks for all the work you do, because it's important work, my friend.
All right. Thank you, man. Talk to you guys later.
All right. There you go, Pastor Mike. All right. One more. We have Bruce Davis. Bruce, you're coming up, dude. You ready? Murph's getting hungry, I think. So we got to get rolling here. There we go. Here's Bruce. Let's see if I can trigger. There he is.
Hey, what's up? What's up, guys?
Welcome to the show.
Guys. I just wanted to ask you guys one quick question, and I'm just going to let you guys go. I'll listen to it on the other end.
All right.
You say quarterback, okay? Can you guys tell me what else, like our line and stuff? What else do we need besides having a young kid at the helm for the next 3-5 years, maybe longer, to go back to do like we did back in 2016, I believe it was, with Derek Carr. So thank you guys, and go Raiders.
Man. Bruce, thanks for dropping in, buddy. We really appreciate that. It's a good question. Listen, I mean, I think that the priorities for this team, Murph, in addition to that quarterback, is exactly what we've been talking about, which is offensive line. You have defensive line, which is playing well right now, but they still need depth there, right? Depth is the key in the NFL. And then you also need to look, and I think this is what the Chiefs game, Murph, is going to be a big indication of, because we didn't really see the defensive backfield tested tonight. Caillou Blue-Kelly played again despite really, really struggling. I thought we'd see Darian Porter tonight. We did not. So Pete Carroll and Patrick Graham have doubled down on Caillou Blue-Kelly. This Chiefs game should be an indication where they're at. But I think those are the three key areas that this team has to address in the draft. And I would say that it's got to be quarterback, offensive line, and then probably those defensive backs, which you can address all of that in the draft, yes, but you also need to look at the free agent market, especially, I think, on the defensive side.
Absolutely. I agree exactly with what you just said. And when we look at the dominant Raider teams in history, and I understand we're talking about different eras and things, but what were the things that the Raiders had in common? All the great Raider teams have all had one thing, or three things actually, in common, and that is quarterback play, dominant offensive line play.
Dominant. Yeah, absolutely.
Dominant offensive line play. The offensive line of the Raiders of the 70s was arguably the most dominant offensive line in history, let alone of that era. Same thing when you look at even in the early 80s, which is almost the same version of them. And then when you start to move into the early 2000s, look at that, that line. You know what I mean? Barry Sims, Mo Collins, Lincoln Kennedy, Wisniewski, dominant offensive line. And then even that recent history that I talked about in 2016. Raider Nation, you remember when the only thing we had to bitch about in offensive line was Austin Howard?
Yeah.
That was pretty cool, right? Because you had Fletchy in there, you had Huddy in there, you had these guys. Donald Penn, those were amazing. The amazing offensive line. So I think that definitely you go there. And then yes, the last thing, not only a good secondary, dominant secondary. What were the Raiders of the 70s and the 80s? Dominant secondary, Hall of Fame secondaries, Hayes and Haynes, right? Willie Brown, you start looking at, you Skip Thomas, the Soul Patrol, dominant secondaries. The Raiders secondaries of those early 2000s. What do you got? Eric Allen, Hall of Famer, Charles Woodson, Hall of Famer, right? You start looking around, those are the things. And even then in that 2016 team, didn't have necessarily, in terms of coverage, dominant, but a very physical secondary back then. And so those are the things I think, if you can get those three things done, and this, frankly, it's more than just a Raider thing. This is NFL stuff.
Sure.
But when you trickle that down, I'll say this and then I'll shut up. When I look at the way that you build a football team, Scott, you start off with a quarterback. You have to have a quarterback. Well, then you have to have a defensive line, mainly a defensive end, that can get to said quarterback of the other team. We've got that Max Crosby. So then what do you need? You need a left tackle to protect your quarterback. All right? Well, we've got a left tackle that can protect our quarterback. Well, then what do you got to do? Well, then you got to go to the other side because you don't want somebody coming in from the right side as well. So there lies the weakness of the Raiders, is that what are we doing on that right side? We know, and Cole Miller's hurt, so it affects the depth, like what you're talking about. So it's that line. You got to build that line. That's the next thing, the next step we have to do.
And you have, I think, a game changer at running back too. So you need to be able to run the ball, right? So you need guys up front that can do both, that can pass protect and create what you need. So that goes back to your point about dominant offensive line. And then, yes, and in today's NFL with salary caps and money and all that stuff, you've got to develop young defensive backs. So you have to have next year, the Raiders are going to have to piece it together a little bit. They got to get somebody young that they can develop. And this year, by the way, Caillou Blue-Kelly, maybe he develops into something better. Maybe he gets better, but you have Darian Porter. You got to see what he has. So you got to get him out there. You got to develop him. That's the other telltale point about coaching staffs too. You develop talent. It's not just getting the talent, because there's plenty of examples of draft picks that come into a team and don't develop. And they are considered busts, or they're considered not what they should be because they don't have the right coaching. So that's another key point. All right, we're going to do one more call drop in here. We have Captain Rufuccio got his audio fixed. So we got a couple minutes left, Captain. So we're bringing you in, buddy. What's going on?
All right, so my microphone is still working.
You're good.
Yes, I know, because I know at the first time I was like, literally, my microphone wasn't screwed up, but here's the thing. That was very important win. As a team, because first and foremost, I don't want to trash Geno very too much, and he knows he's on a very short leash. But we still have a ton of work before I get really get happy with that team. And I'm very happy. Like Matt says, let's start stacking all the W's because he gets sound like Rose for now, but can we just talk about how much appreciated about Michael Mayer and Devin White? I mean, he knows everything about for those games that were really stacked. And I would love to see it for all around for the defense and the offense. I mean, we were just supposed, let's be real. We're supposed to be the team, but we got to be really positive right now. I mean, I know we guarantee that our defense can be something else, but we still had a lot of job to do, including for the improvements. And I think for the next week against the Chiefs, we're not afraid about for this one, but we just wanted to stagger them off at the red zone. Great improvements, but of course, the bad throwing that needs to get off of this because I know that Geno Smith, I know this is going to be a real thing, but this one is going to be a really important at all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely, man. Listen, I'm glad you got your microphone worked out. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time, okay?
Yeah.
All right, there you go. And again, there's another guy, half glass full, Murph. And you know what? Yes, I know it's hard sometimes to be positive as a member of Raider Nation, but you start to see some of the things progress. Now you want to see them build on that. So it's kind of the trust but verify. Okay, I'm happy with the win. I feel good about it. Now we're going into Kansas City. I want to see them do some good things there, win or lose, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Just let's build on the performances that we've seen to date so far out of this Raider team. Let's see Max Crosby have a day against the Kansas City Chiefs. I would love to see that. We saw him have a potentially closeout game sack today, and then unfortunately the Titans turned around and converted a 3rd and long. I think they converted a 3rd and 15 by 25 yards or something like that. But that was a potential closing sack. And that's something that this team has missed for a long time. Ever since Khalil Mack left, we've missed that closer on defense to when it's 3rd and long. When it's 3rd and long next week and we're at Arrowhead and Patrick Mahomes is running around back there, are you going to close out the game, Max Crosby? Or are you going to allow him enough time to find Travis Kelce sitting in a hole in the zone and then convert that 3rd and long? Those are the kind of things that we'll need to see built upon. We saw that against the Tennessee Titans today, and that was great. Now let's do it again, and let's build on it against a better opponent, the most hated opponent when it comes to the Raiders, man. That would do, I think, Scott, I know that a lot of the folks that are still feeling any bit negative about the team, it could be myself included, anybody that's got, tempered expectations, guys like AJ, guys like Pastor Mike, yeah, okay, that was fine, but we'll see where this thing is going to go. We beat the Chiefs on the road. You're changing the tone. You're changing. Yeah. I'm not a fan of the term, but the narrative around the 2025 Raiders changes should we go into Arrowhead and get this W, Scott.
Absolutely. No question about it. All right. Listen, we're going to take, for those of you listening on audio, we're going to take our final break. We come back. We're going to wrap up the show here. The Raiders 20-10 winners over the Titans. This is a Silver and Black Today post-game show with Scott and Murph. Coming right back. All right, we're back. Final segment here on Silver and Black Today, the post-game edition. Raiders 2010 win over the Tennessee Titans at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas. You get to celebrate Victory Monday. I'm happy for you there. And what we're going to do in this segment too, Murph, we always like to do this towards the end of the show, and that is let everybody know about the One Nation Foundation. And I want to give a shout out to MacBud, who gave us some money here. All the super chats that come in through Silver and Black Today and the postgame shows with Murph go right back to the One Nation Foundation at the end of the year. And MacBud over in the UK says, spot on, Murph, but mind recover well. So they're sending you good thoughts, and we appreciate the donation there. So Murph, tell everybody about the One Nation Foundation, what you guys do for Raiders charities.
Yeah, thank you, Scott. As always, for the platform, the One Nation Foundation is the nonprofit we formed when we figured out that we could make money with Raiders Fan Radio. So any of the money that we raise through advertisers or any direct donations like the super chats that come in here, or anybody that donates directly at onenationfoundation.net, anybody that donates money there, 100% of your dollars goes to Raiders-related charities. We give out money to the folks at Raider Dad, who even today took a bunch of underprivileged kids to a Raider game. And we also give money to the Bolitnikoff Foundation. Shout out Fred and Angela Bolitnikoff. We weren't able to attend the event this year, but they just had their annual Crab Fest fundraising dinner, and we sent them a check for $10,000 based on the generosity of Raider Nation. And I had a conversation with Fred and Angela this week. Frank Sinatra told me don't be a name dropper, but I had a conversation with Fred and Angela this week, and we were just kind of expressing that our remorse around the idea that we weren't going to be able to attend the event, but they were incredibly thankful for that money based on, again, your all's generosity. That we just have this dopey little podcast that we do where it's just me and my best friends hanging out talking about our favorite football team, and we're able to raise a bunch of money in the process and give it to some amazing folks that are doing literally the Lord's work out there. So can't thank you enough. And even if you can't support the foundation monetarily, all we ask is just a like, a subscribe, a thumbs up, help us promote the Raiders Fan Radio, help us promote the One Nation Foundation, help us promote Silver and Black today. We just can't thank you guys enough. Raider Nation truly is family. We say La Familia, and it's no joke. And that's nothing shows it better than the uplifting of the communities that are around us. And that's what these Raiders charities are doing. So thank you to you guys very, very much for the support. And thank you, Scott, as always, for the platform.
Well, no, and thank you guys for all the work that you do. And it's not a dopey little podcast. It's great stuff, man. Are you kidding me?
Thanks.
If you haven't watched Raiders Fan Radio, if you're one of our viewers and you haven't made the journey over there and listen to them on Wednesday, it's great stuff. And it's genuine. It's funny. It's well produced. Murph knows what he's doing, so make sure you check it out. Thanks. By the way, I got to get this in because Renee dropped a comment, and I want to address it. It says, look, guys, you make it sound easy to draft, that it's easy to draft a quarterback, and it isn't. Drafting is more art than science. Not all QBs coming out of college are at a minimum good. A lot of failures, to be sure. And Renee, totally agree with you. I don't disagree with you. But what Murph and I have been saying when we talk about this is, okay, so you draft one next year, and guess what? That one doesn't work out. Then you go draft another one. You got to do it. You keep doing it until you do it. Now, I know people bring up the Jets, and that's an organizational failure. If the Raiders have their organization set right and they have the right people. Now, I know we can't say that yet. It's always a risk. You don't know for sure. But what else? What's the other option? Not taking one? Just not drafting quarterback like the Raiders have done since 2014? The answer is no. So you have to do it. Murph, I think I captured what you said earlier in that statement, didn't I?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can't get penalized. The days of Jamarcus Russell and Sam Bradford jacking up your salary cap because you made a move at a top round quarterback, it's not going to screw you up for the next 3 to 5 to 10 years, for crying out loud. Those days are over. We have a rookie wage scale. And so that idea is that you can't be penalized. So every draft pick is a crapshoot. Well,
every draft pick.
So take your highest draft pick and use it on the position of most importance. And like Scott said, if it doesn't work, well, then you just do it again. And you just keep doing it. And again, to go back to Pastor Mike's comment, if we'd have been, or no, excuse me, it was AJ, if we'd have been doing this since 2019, we would have had it figured out by now. I promise you.
You hope so.
You would think so, right? So if you have people that are good at evaluating talent, which they should be based on the elevated positions that they are in, then they would eventually hit on a quarterback. And as soon as you do that, then begins the turnaround of said franchise.
Absolutely. Murph, as always, man, I thank you for being on with me, and it's always a pleasure. I wish you a great week, and make sure you tune in to Murph, Michelle, and Swag Jeff on Wednesdays, 7 p.m., right?
Yeah, 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern. Yes, sir.
There you go. Do not miss it. My friend, I will talk to you next week.
Thank you, Scott. Always a great time, my friend. And let's go beat the Chiefs' ass.
There you go. There's Murph, Raiders Fan Radio. Follow him on X, by the way, @_Murph, MURF, and @Raiders Fan Radio. Well, folks, thanks for being with us. Thanks for all of you who dropped in on video too. It looks like you guys like that. Don't be shy. If you haven't done it yet, please do so next week. We got one more week, and then we have the bye week. after the Chiefs game, so we'll be off from the post-game show that week. Mo and I will be back on Tuesday with an all-new show, and then Thursday we'll also have a guest, Carrington Harrison, from Kansas City. Will be with us. We'll talk about the Chiefs and talk about that game. He's one of our best guests, great guy, part of the Odyssey family in Kansas City, as well as a host nationally on Sirius XM. So make sure you join us on that one. Do us a favor. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your audio. Don't forget, rate and review. If you're watching us on video, subscribe there, hit that thumbs up, and also do us a big favor, hit that notifications bell. That way, you know every time we have a new video. Also, shout out and thanks to our folks at Sleeper Picks. Make sure you go over there. You get that special deal. Remember, $20. All you gotta do is download the app and sign up. They're gonna give you $20 to play daily fantasy football, which is a blast. I gave you my picks earlier. And if you deposit $100, up to $100, they're going to give you up to $100 for free. So you have $200 in that puppy to join me on Sleeper Picks. For Murph and for our producer, Mike Robier, I'm Scott Gulbransen. This has been Silver and Black Today. We'll talk to you guys all on Tuesday. Take care, Raider Nation, and have a great week. Enjoy your Victory Monday. Take care now.